32 men and 1 girl on an isolated island. During the Second World War, a Japanese naval ship was attacked by American combat planes and sunk near Anatahan Island. A total of 31 Japanese soldiers survived and made it to Anatahan Island in the Pacific Ocean, where 1 Japanese couple was living. The couple had been sent to the island on business before the war was initiated. Being a remote island, however, the soldiers and couple had no form of contact with the outside world, so they weren't informed. One day, the captain of the ship was found lifeless in the water, while on another occasion, 2 other soldiers were found dead with gunshot wounds. It was later found that the wife, Kazuko Higa, was the only woman on the island, which caused conflict amongst the men on the island. Actually, all 31 soldiers fell in love with the woman. The Japanese couple weren't actually together, and when the soldiers found out, they began fighting over her. The husband of wife was searching for his sister on some other island, thinking his boss will take care of his wife behind by his boss's faked marriage with her, but the woman thought of dating the men out of fear, thinking her husband is dead. The men's jealousy and rivalry became worse over time that they decided to kill her so that the peace could be maintained on the entire island, causing the wife to secretly board a ship and leave the island in 1950. After she left, there were reportedly no more incidents of violence, and the island was peaceful, and the soldiers lived happily and with peace till 1951. In 1951, the soldiers were rescued by American forces and were taken back home. Let's see some weird ancient Roman and Greek gods. Cardea is the goddess of door hinges. Silenus is a drunk companion and tutor to the wine god Dionysus, and had to be supported by satyrs or carried by a donkey. Febris is the goddess of fevers. Priapus is a fertility god, protector of livestock, fruit plants, gardens, and male genitalia. Hecate is the triple-bodied goddess of magic, witchcraft, and the night, the moon, graves, and ghosts. Morpheus is the god of dreams, responsible for shaping and delivering dreams to mortals. Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. Hermaphroditus is the androgynous god of love and beauty. He was half male and half female, the son of Hermes and Aphrodite. Pan is the satyr god of the wild, flocks, shepherds, and panic. Daemoni Ceramici are 5 malevolent spirits who plagued the craftsman potter. Hebe is daughter of 2 main gods, Zeus and Heraeus, and the goddess of youth, but she functioned as the cupbearer for the gods, serving their nectar and ambrosia. Who did invent the light bulb? Edison? Sir Hiram Stevens Maxim was an electrical engineer working for Thomas Edison, who designed and invented the light bulb. Edison got the patent. Edison decided he did not want Maxim around any longer, but he could not fire Maxim because he would only have to walk across the street and work for Westinghouse. Finally, Edison figured out how to legally banish Maxim from America and end his work in electricity. Maxim was paid $20,000 a year to go to Europe and agreed to never touch anything to do with electricity again. $20,000 in 1890 would be equivalent of $700,000 today. Maxim held patents on numerous mechanical devices such as hair-curling irons, a mousetrap, and steam pumps, pocket menthol inhaler, an apparatus for demagnetizing watches, magno-electric machines, devices to prevent the rolling of ships, eyelet and riveting machines, aircraft artillery, an aerial torpedo gun, coffee substitutes, and various oil, steam, and gas engines. First automatic fire sprinkler. In 1882, he was in Vienna, where he met an American whom he had known in the States. An American said, "Hang your chemistry and electricity If you want to make a pile of money, invent something that will enable these Europeans to cut each other's throats with greater facility. And he invented the first practical self-powered machine gun in 1884, which is called Maxim gun. Whiskey War. The Whiskey War, also known as the Liquor Wars, was a bloodless war and border dispute between the Kingdom of Denmark and Canada over Hans Island. Between 1973 and 2022, the island was under dispute between the two nations, although never amounting to direct conflict or violence. In 1984, Canadian soldiers visited the island and planted a Canadian flag, also leaving a bottle of Canadian whiskey. The Danish Minister of Greenland Affairs came to the island himself later the same year with the Danish flag, a bottle of schnapps, and a letter stating, "Welcome to the Danish island." On June 10, 2022, that the Canadian and Danish governments had settled on a border across the island, dividing it between the Canadian territory of Nunavut and the Danish autonomous territory of Greenland. The resolution had the side effect of giving Canada and Denmark a land border with each other, which means that both countries no longer border only one other country, the United States and Germany, respectively. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. On January 23, 1959, 10 experienced hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, led by Igor Dyatlov, set out for a winter trek through Russia's Ural Mountains. One turned back after several days for medical reasons, but the other 9 continued along their route. When their sport club didn't hear from them by February 20th, a search party set out to find the hikers. When the search party found the tent, it was collapsed and covered in snow. Inside, the hikers' belongings were relatively undisturbed. The team found the hikers' boots, clothes, and equipment neatly arranged in the tent, and food was sliced up on a plate as if the hikers were preparing to eat it. The tent was slashed open, and, as a seamstress later observed, someone had made the cut from the inside. The first 2 bodies the search party found were those of students several hundred yards away from the tent. They were lying in their underwear next to the remains of a fire, and it was -30 degrees. A medical examiner later noted that one of them had burns on his body and a piece of flesh in his mouth that he had bitten off of his own hand. The searchers found the bodies of hiking leader Dyatlov and other 2 hikers in a different location that suggested they were trying to head back to the tent. All 5 students appeared to have died from hypothermia. Other 4 bodies were discovered on May, when more of the snow in the area had melted. For 3 of these bodies, the cause of death didn't seem to be hypothermia. One of them had a skull fracture so severe there were pieces of bone in his brain, while other 2 had crushed chests and their eye sockets were empty, and female student was missing her tongue. There were no indications of other people nearby. The victims had died 6 to 8 hours after their last meal. Traces from the camp showed that all group members left the campsite of their own accord, on foot. Some levels of radiation were found on one victim's clothing. What had happened? Even there were hundreds of theories, the case had not been solved yet.